If you were following any of the posts that we did from when we were up in Boonville, New York for the Woodsman's Field Days Expo, I was able to bring back a new Halverson 160. Yes, it's been a couple of weeks since the show, but we've been extra busy and finally getting a chance here today. Hopefully, I'll break it off the pallet, get everything installed, figured out, and then we'll probably grab some of the logs here behind me and see what it actually does. So let me get the camera flipped around and we'll get this thing started. And there it is, the Halverson 160. So yeah, outside in the daylight, it is an absolutely massive attachment. I mean, the S300 was at one point in time the largest wheeled skid steer that Bobcat made, and this thing dwarfs it. It's amazing. So just like some of the other unpacking videos that we've done, you will need a 1/2 inch socket drive. We have the electric one, couple nippers to get the band straps off, throw away some cardboard. We'll get, from what I'm told, the wiring harness should be inside that panel, so we'll get that all opened up and kind of go from there. But this thing is amazing. I actually can't wait to put a piece of wood up on here and actually watch it go. And of course, we'll grab a 120 that I have behind me, throw that next to it just for sheer size comparison on things. So let me get my impactor, a set of nippers, and we'll get this baby off the pallet. So we have our 1/2 inch impactor, a set of nippers, and I forgot we need a 3/4 inch socket and wrench to put the arms in the front out here. So we'll cut the band straps and the zip ties that hold everything together. And then on this one, it actually has an auto tensioner, just like my big 1824 diesel has. So we'll get that clipped off of here. Have to figure out how that all goes on things yet, but everything undone. But that's the tool for compressing the saw bar down. Hit a detent button to lock it down, and then you can change the chain. We have our standard female return, the case drain, and the male supply. The same rectangular Halverson adapter that you're used to seeing, but this one's a little bigger. There's actually 10 pins in here versus the standard 8 that you would traditionally see. And that's why we have our own wiring harness that is specific to the 160. There should be, I think it's 7 functions, because it has a chain drive on it. So that's a forward and reverse for 1 and 2. The grabber arm up and down for 3 and 4, the wedge up and down for 5 and 6, and then the saw actuation with an automatic return would be the 7th function. And then we have the split and return, which should be 8 and 9. So it should be interesting to see what this harness looks like, because again, I haven't seen it. I've only seen pictures. That's why I wanted to get a video done, just to get some information out there on this 160. And yes, as silly as it sounds, there is a zip tie through the saw bar itself. It is hydraulically actuated, but it is not strong enough to break the zip tie. I've actually gotten the phone call before, hey, my saw bar won't go down, what's up? And I said, have you cut that zip tie right there? And they're like, well, no. Cut that, and then it goes down. so now that I have all the cardboard removed, it was hanging over this piece, and they do have a label here. It says documentation inside. So you're going to use the same 1/2 inch socket or wrench that you had before. I like the electric driver because it's quick. You take off the panel here, just like what you would do on like the foot tray for either the 120 or the 140 or the 150. Normally it would be like here where you step on that to get into the machine, but this is so much bigger that they've done it this way here at the back. Trying to keep all the washers together. A little tight access there. We'll take our extension off. Our Oregon information. And we should have our controls in here as well as an operator's manual. So we'll get all that stuff pulled out and get this hooked up. All right, so just had to call it quits here for a quick second because we were working on the 160 and stuff over there, and a freak little rainstorm rolled in. So we're just gonna let this blow on by and get back to our video. All right, well, slight weather delay, but we'll go ahead and get the control harness piece taken out of the body down here. That's where they're always going to store this. And just like the 120 harnesses, you're going to have like a big box in here for running all the different relays and stuff that this unit needs. So we'll get this matched up on the Bobcat. There's going to be, if you've seen our other videos, there's the in-cab harness. It would have the 3 buttons that zip tie in front of the joysticks. So basically with all the functions that this one does, you get the same 2 controllers that zip tie in, but there's 4 buttons on each one. So we've already got the other cab harness set up in the S300. So I'm just going to go ahead and zip tie this one and follow the same route that we did before. And because that way I don't want to cut or pinch a wire or anything, but we'll go ahead and get this installed. I'll show you what it looks like, compare the old harness to this new harness that's exclusive to the 160, and we'll go from there. Before I do the install, just go ahead and show you the whole harness kit. So it's this big spool of wire here. We got it set on the seat. That is the relay box. This end will ultimately end up over here by the other one. And then, I don't know, golly, these have been in here for so long. I can't even remember how long ago we put these other harness buttons in. They're out of a 120 because they will run both a 120, a 140, and a 150. But when it comes to this 160, here you will see we have the 4 buttons on each one. And I'm yet to figure out what they do yet, so stay tuned because I have some learning to do here on today. So, but let's get this going. All right, not my usual OCD wire install, but you'll get the idea. So they are marked left and right with up for orientation, and it looks a little weird until you sit in the seat and figure it out that this part of the wire goes in towards your knees. So when your fingers wrap around this side, there's no wire kind of coupled into it. So again, there's the new plug. That's the old plug. So we get what, 12 pins versus 8. And all I did was follow it up the boom. Now, if you have another kind of skid steer, usually the hydraulics run outside the boom, so I'll zip tie to that going up. But with this one, they hide them inside the boom, so we just zip tied here kind of temporarily. Came up and around, zip tied it here and came in. Now, my original harness, there was a Bobcat logo down here that we came in through the cab, but this is only going to be temporary, so that's why we did what we did here. So let me go ahead and we'll get this hooked up in between the raindrops and see how she works. I'm excited. Well, that was the first ever log that I've processed with a 160. I will say there's two things. There's a learning curve because there's now 4 buttons on each joystick. And secondly, I have to deprogram or unprogram, whatever the right word is. I'm grabbing for it, but it's not there. On break the old habits, because I'm used to having to lift the grabber arm just to get the table to advance. But with this one, I can leave that down because the sprocket here on top and the chains on the bottom are timed together. So I no longer have to raise and lower the grabber arm, but just leave it there and send the next piece. So I've got to figure out how to do the perfect last piece drop in. I don't know, maybe if I leave the cylinder all the way out, if I can put a piece on top of that and then let it drop in, or figure out a better way to use the rollers here on top to actually toss it in. I don't know yet, but and I'm trying to figure out where the wedge up and down was and different things. So don't judge this first pass on the machine, judge me, because it's all new. And completely different from anything else that I've run from them before. A lot of similarities, but it is not the same. But this is the new 150 from Halverson Wood Products. If we can earn your business with the sales quote, it's 833-SPLITTER. It's 833-775-4887. You can also email me at sales@shaverequipment.com. Again, would love to talk to you about an attachment processor versus like your standalone processor, and just the different requirements that we need to run this. It's the same as the other units, your 15.5 gallons a minute. With the case drain, this one does come with its own harness. We can go 4-way, 6-way, and 8-way. I would definitely recommend the 8-way wedge unless you're just looking for the bigger boiler wood pieces. But again, we can go over all that stuff when you give me a phone call on the 833-SPLITTER line, or when you shoot me an email at sales@shaverequipment.com. Would love to hear your thoughts on a big processor like this. Again, you're in the upper 30s, you know, for an attachment, for a big horsepower skid steer. This is an S300. I've talked to a lot of people that are going to run this on like an SVL 97, one of the big cat machines. You know, it's a big, high horsepower, heavy unit. Just weighs like 2,800 pounds plus the wood weight. So shoot us an email, give us a phone call. I'm going to end this one here, reposition the camera, and run through a couple other pieces just so I can get used to this. And of course, we'll capture it on camera. So don't forget, we're always working hard to be lazy. Do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button here on the channel so you can stay up to date on everything we have going on, like this big new unit from Halverson. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.